Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my Week 8 battle for the UBL. We're going up against Irish Emerald, coach of the Wexford Wailords. Please go check him out. There's links down in the description, as well as the coaches from the rest of the UBL. And of course, down there as well, make sure you check out my buddy AA2420. He recorded the match for me this week, and he's been doing that for me for the last several weeks. I don't think I've mentioned it in every video, but I just want to reiterate, AA really great guy, funny dude, and it's been a big help, so thanks to him. Did do a team builder for this battle. Do recommend you check it out. But in case you don't, let me quickly go through the team that we've brought. So we have a Fizdef Necrozma. It's 3 attacks with Moonlight. We have a specially defensive Resto Chesto Dredagon. We have a mostly physically defensive Quagsire with like Recover and Toxic, with a little bit of speed for Araquanid. We have a max speed, max HP Stealth Rocks Heatran. We have a Spore SD Technician Breloom, and then finally we have an Agility Lopunny. And so Irish has elected to bring Hitmontop, Mega Scizor, Lycanroc, Zeraora, Sylveon, and Araquanid. So a few things I'm not really too surprised to see. Sylveon and Araquanid are some of his most reliable mons for him this season, like in terms of bringing bulky sets, so I'm not at all surprised to see either of those. And Webs is just very good versus my team. I don't have great removal options. And so I tried to sort of build my team with that in mind. Zeraora I thought had an amazing matchup versus me, so I'm not surprised to see that at all. Hitmontop sort of makes sense as a check to like my Diggersby and my Lopunny. It does have that Intimidate ability to combo well with some good physical priority and Mach Punch. And then Scizor, it's not that it has like a good or bad matchup, but it does sort of like, it's just a good mon in general, and it beats a lot of my team except for Heatran, I would say. So it's a good mon for him. If he wants to bring like a physically defensive set, it's also a relatively decent check for Lopunny. Given the fact that he doesn't have like a Salamence or something to complement his Hitmontop, I do think that the Scizor is probably bulkier. And so we're gonna have to take that into account in our game plan. So basically, like if we can remove the Hitmontop or the Scizor as threats, that should allow either my Breloom or my Lopunny to clean up in the late game. So like for example, if I can use Breloom in the early game, that should set up for Lopunny late game, and then if Lopunny wants to break early game, that should set up for Breloom in the late game. So, you know, it goes both ways. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear what my win con is. Like he doesn't have, like besides maybe Toxic on something like Araquanid, he doesn't have a great way of breaking through certain mons like Necrozma. Like he does have something like U-Turn on Scizor to do pretty tremendous damage to me. But you know, I should outspeed like a non-speed invested Scizor with my Necrozma. And if he doesn't have something like U-Turn, he has like Bug Bite instead, then I should be able to hit that, like hit him with Heat Wave before he goes for a Bug Bite. Yeah, and then like just to reiterate the point I was making before, like if he wants to go for a U-Turn and pivot out of my Necrozma, I should be able to outspeed, so he won't have the opportunity to pivot, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Necrozma can potentially be like a defensive win con, but otherwise I'm expecting one of my fighting types to potentially pull it home. So in terms of leads, because Necrozma matches up so well versus the majority of his team, like he just doesn't have anything to hit it for like really powerfully except for Scizor. But again, as I said, like I should be able to outspeed defensive Scizor, which I am expecting. It just makes sense as a lead. Like there's no situation that he can put me in where I'm on the back foot if I lead Necrozma. So that's gonna be my move of choice, and we're gonna click play and wish good luck, have fun to Irish Emerald. If we can win this game, we will definitely improve our standings. We're currently 5-2 going into this game. We are actually neck and neck with Frosted, coach of the Copenhagen Saucebucks. We beat her in week 1, but she's really bounced back after that, going 5-1 since then. So anyway, he does like to lead with the Hitmontop. And this is going to be a good situation for me turn 1, because I can just fire off a free Photon Geyser. There's not going to be very much that he can do to retaliate. His only resist is the Scizor, of course. He does just go into his Araquanid to take this Photon Geyser. Takes it pretty well. The fact that it takes so little does suggest that this is probably like a Spadef Araquanid, which aligns with pretty much what he's brought all season long. So I'm expecting probably Dual Stab, Sticky Web, and Toxic on this thing. So I do decide to switch into my Quagsire, which is rocking a Rocky Helmet, no pun intended, in case he does elect to go for the Bug type move, but he does just instead choose to go for a Sticky Web. So a little bit annoying. Like the only thing that's really bad is that now his Scizor is going to outspeed my Heatran, but I do have Chopple Berry on Heatran in case he does have superpower to hit my Heatran. But otherwise, like, Lopunny has agility to overcome the Sticky Web. Breloom has Mach Punch. and doesn't necessarily need the speed that it has. It should outspeed his walls after Sticky Web anyway, just because of how much speed investment I do have. So yeah, I'm relatively fine with having these Sticky Webs up. We do trade Toxics on the next turn, which is definitely going to be annoying for my Quagsire. But like Quagsire, other than checking Scizor, doesn't really do too much this game. Like I am expecting something like Grass Knot to be on the Zeraora, so I don't think that Quagsire is going to be quite as critical here. Oh, but yeah, he does go into the Sylveon, and takes pretty little damage from my Earthquake, which does suggest that it's a physically defensive Sylveon. So again, that's pretty in line with what he's been bringing all season. And so because he hasn't been bringing like very diverse Sylveon sets, I feel like I'm pretty safe versus potential, how do you say, versus potential like Hidden Power Ground on Sylveon. It's not likely that he's going to be packing it. And he does show the Heal Bell here, which doesn't necessarily confirm that he doesn't have Hidden Power Ground, but if he has Heal Bell, like he probably has Wish, he has Hyper Voice, and then his fourth slot could be Protect, Baton Pass, Toxic, anything else. Like all of those are just as, if not slightly more likely than Hidden Power Ground. So the Araquanid does come out versus my Heatran. It's a pretty good switch in, considering it does have that crazy ability, Water Bubble, which gives it a resistance to fight or fire type moves. It prevents it from being burned, and it can also like get the triple stab basically on freaking water type moves. So I am expecting the water type move to come out versus my Heatran here, and this seems like a pretty good chance for me to go into Breloom and potentially go for a Spore, because his switch into this thing should be his Scizor. And like I said, like putting Scizor to sleep is actually really, really good for both my Breloom and my Lopunny, but it's better for whichever Mon is the late game cleaner rather than the early game breaker. So basically what I'm saying is that Breloom is going to be turned into my early game breaker here. Because I am going to be able to put this Scizor to sleep, which effectively removes it from the game for the time being. And then I also have an opportunity to set up SDs. Like if he wants to pivot out into something, there's very little that he can pivot out to that's going to like threaten me right away. Like if I go for +2, like the only thing that can like survive that's not Scizor is going to be Hitmontop. But Hitmontop, like, it doesn't threaten me, so I even have the opportunity to go for another Sword Stance versus it. Or I can potentially go for Bullet Seed, and depending upon the spread, do a pretty tremendous amount of damage to that Hitmontop. He does choose to just stay in and burn a Sleep turn. Not surprising that he outspeeds me, because of course the Sticky Web is up. And I am going to go for a second Sword Stance. I'm getting into a little bit of risky territory here, because he is does have that chance to wake up now that it is the second turn. But I want to be able to get up to +4, because +4 it does at least put me in range of two-shotting a Fizdef Scizor. And if I can two-shot, even if he does kill me with a bug type move, like if I can get off that Mach Punch, get like 50% damage off, the Scizor already took 12% from rocks. It's gonna put it in position to die to my Lopunny's high jump kick, so it's totally fine with me. It's a trade that I'm willing to make. Instead, he chooses to switch on out into his Hitmontop, and that is going to get two-shot by the Mach Punch. So he does get off that Intimidate, so now I am back to +3. I might not two-shot a Fizdef Scizor anymore, but he has taken 2 rounds of Stealth Rocks at this point, so I'm not too upset with how this exchange has occurred. I get lucky, and he does stay asleep one more time, and I do click Mach Punch. And it actually brings him really low, brings him to like 20% or so. And so based on that, it means that this has to be an Adamant Scizor, and that's confirmed by the amount of damage that I take from that Bullet Punch. Yeah, like no Impish Scizor is going to be taking that much from Mach Punch. And to be honest, like, so he does have the Accelerock in the back on Lycanroc potentially, but I was like, okay, I'm going to get another kill on this Zeraora at the very least. You know, I have the potential to even sweep if he's not packing priority on this team. But it does, of course, turn out that the Zeraora is packing Fake Out, so I was not expecting that. A little bit of a bummer for that to happen, of course, but I don't really mind. Like, getting the 2 kills and like weakening his 2 best responses for Lopunny is more than enough work from Breloom. Like, it did its job and then some, so I'm like really ecstatic at this point, honestly. And so the Araquanid is going to switch in on my Photon Geyser. It takes it pretty well, really no big deal here. But you know, the fact that it does have to switch in on rocks and take that damage and everything is definitely pretty nice for me. I wanted to go into my Quagsire here because I was anticipating the Toxic, but because the Araquanid is all, well, I guess I could have gone into it and then Toxic the Araquanid, since his Heal Bell was able to remove the Toxic from the Araquanid earlier. But the problem with going into Quagsire is that I no longer outspeed it. And like I just don't have any other way to threaten it besides with Toxic. And at least with Druddigon, I can threaten it a little bit offensively because I might not have attack invested on my Druddigon, but Dragon Claw should still do a pretty decent chunk of damage considering that this thing definitely looks more Spadef than Fizdef. So as you can see, he's going to go from like 50% down to like 20%. So I would consider that a pretty good chunk of damage for sure. And the fact that the Druddigon is toxic is, while it's annoying, I do have the Resto Chesto to potentially heal myself up later in the game. So overall, it just seemed like the best play. And I am definitely expecting to play into Sylveon here. And so I do make a switch of my own, and I go right on into my Heatran, so I can immediately apply that offensive pressure with Flash Cannon. Besides the Araquanid, like, he doesn't really have anything that wants to take it, but the Araquanid, like, it's in a range of HP where it's going to die to rocks, so either he has to sack his Araquanid to rocks, or take a pretty big Flash Cannon from something. Like, even Zeraora isn't really going to want to take it, because I assume he's probably pretty physically, like, attack invested and, like, pretty speed invested. And, like, Heatran doesn't have a bad special attack at all. It's got base 130. And the fact that Zeraora also has to switch in on rocks just puts it in a really good position. Like, you know, it puts me in a really good position to do tremendous damage with Flash Cannon. So anyway, he does sack the Araquanid and it goes immediately into Lycanroc. Like in the game, there's almost no hesitation here, which of course to me screams that it's Drill Run. And so I am going to go into my Quagsire, which is like kind of my most physically defensive Mon that I have besides maybe Druddigon. And it does hit with Drill Run. Luckily, it is a contact move, so I actually deal residual damage to it with Rocky Helmet. But the amount of damage that this thing does, it suggests that it is a banded Lycanroc, which is definitely pretty annoying for me. I go for recover because I didn't get exact calculation on how much damage that it did that first turn, so I wanted the chance to do that again on the second turn, and it does confirm that it is banded. And so at this point, like, I'm not going to be able to, like, recover up versus this thing due to my Toxic. So I say, okay, if he wants to go for another Drill Run, okay by me. I should be able to knock it out. But he does instead choose to go on into his Sylveon, take a little bit of damage. You know, he has the opportunity to potentially Wish Up here, which is a little bit of a nuisance, but it's not all that bad. I am just going to swap on out into my Heatran. He does expect that, and he makes a double into the Lycanroc. So heads up play, like expecting my Heatran switch in for sure. The nice thing is that I feel like even though it's a good play on his part, it doesn't really punish me at all. He doesn't have up rocks or anything, so it's not like he's getting an additional chip on my Heatran. All that I have to do now is go back into my Quagsire, sack it off, because that's pretty much what I was looking to do anyway versus the Lycanroc 2 turns ago. So it's fine with me. I'm definitely willing to trade that. And then what this does is that even though this is a banded Lycanroc and it's got pretty good damage output, Lopunny takes like 71% max from a banded Drill Run. And so even though he probably has the Accelerock on here, and he does also have the Fake Out on Zeraora that he's shown, I can set up an Agility here and pretty much collect at least 2 kills. Because either like his Sylveon or his Zeraora are going to get one shot by return. Even this Lycanroc at the range of HP that it's at is going to get one shot by return. But unfortunately for me, the Lycanroc does score a crit. It's very lucky that I didn't get KO'd here. Like, I don't know what the exact roll was, but there was a chance that I get KO'd after that crit. And it's funny, too, because he had just gotten a crit the previous turn on the Quagsire. Like, obviously, that didn't matter at that point because the Quagsire was at, like, 46 HP, so it was, like, 25%. But it's just funny to see the back-to-back crits. And this one almost did matter, so I'm lucky that it did end up going in my favor even after getting crit. But, you know, the nice thing about this is that we do still end up getting a kill. He sacks the Sylveon, he comes into his Zeraora, and the Fake Out here is so incredibly obvious that it seemed like in my best interest to go just right into Druddigon and hit this thing up with a little bit of Rough Skin damage. And then I could follow up with a potential, how do you call it? With a potential Earthquake. So even if he wants to go for Outrage here to knock me out, I do still have my Heatran in the back, which does resist the Outrage, so I can then hit it with a big Lava Plume, which would be pretty nice. But it turns out he doesn't have the Dragon-type move. What would have been really scary is if he had Dragonium Z with the Zero Aura. That would have been really, really bad. But luckily that wasn't the case. He just had neither that nor Outrage. He just had Close Combat. And so we can easily live that. I guess what I should have done on that turn, actually, was gone for a Rest. That would have been the better play. Like, even if he doubled into Lycanroc for some reason versus my Druddigon, getting up to full HP would guarantee that I live pretty much any hit from the Lycanroc. And I should still be able to, like, survive, I should be able to survive any hit from Zero Aura and any hit from Lycanroc. So what it would do is that it would give the Druddigon those last 2 kills, and it would have given me a 4-0 victory. But instead, the Lycanroc is going to be at a pretty low amount of HP. I'm going to be able to go into my Necrozma and hit it up with the Photon Geyser for the KO. At this point, I could have gone into pretty much any of my Mons. Or I guess there's only 2 Mons I have that I could have come in. I could have gone into Necrozma or Heatran, but both of them would have easily lived. And we are going to be able to catch the 3-0 dub versus Irish Emerald. So it was a really good game. Really fun. You know, pretty intense just with all those turns there. Like kind of playing around the Scizor in on my Breloom. Dealing with the Lycanroc was pretty high stress. Araquanid was really annoying because it could pivot into pretty much my entire team. So there's a lot of back and forth and good prep on his part. But at the end of the day, he didn't have enough to break through my wall core. And my breakers, like, you know, Breloom just really, like, dismantled his team. You know, getting rid of Scizor and Hitmontop just made it very, very hard for him to deal with things like Lopunny. But yeah, it's really just the defensive backbone that was nice this week. I think I could have gotten the 4-0, but misplayed and got the 3-0 instead. But that does improve us to a 6-2 record, which is pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with how the season's been going in terms of our overall record. Lopunny did catch another KO this week, which brings it up to 9 kills, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 10. Hard to know. I can check later and edit into the video what the actual number is. But yeah, we are going to have a really tough matchup next week. We're going up against the Bullet Punch Club, whose main coach is Uzi Gunner. But actually, Uzi is going to be subbing out next week. It seems like he has a lot of commitments going on with the university and things like that. So his good pal and our, you know, someone who we really look up to in the community is going to be subbing in for him, and that is none other than TTM's Jolt. If you're not familiar with Jolt, we actually played one of his companions earlier on in the season with Styx. The two of them both upload to the same YouTube channel. And Jolt as well is very well known in the community. He's a GPA coach. He organizes a lot of popular Draft League tournaments. And it's just an overall good dude and excellent player and builder. So it's going to be a good challenge for us to face off versus him. The nice thing, and I guess I should have led with this, so after the results of last week, and then with this result confirmed, there are 5 teams now in the Emma Stone division that have at least 5 losses. We are at 6-2, which means even if we lose the final 2 games, that'll give us a 6-4 record. And because there's 5 teams that are guaranteed to have a worse record than us, that means that we are guaranteed to be in the top 4, which means we are guaranteed for playoffs. So, yes, that's pretty exciting. It means that the pressure's off these last couple of weeks. We can make sure we play well, but we don't have to necessarily give all of our secrets away. We don't have to agonize over having the best prep or anything like that. But I still want to try and see how I measure up versus somebody like Jolt. Just because, yeah, he is one of the best players in the community for sure. You know, his record in leagues such as NPL and GBA really show that. Like, he really dominated GBA S8 and had a very, very good run through GBA D League Season 3. So, definitely looking forward to that opportunity. I hope you guys are too. If you are, make sure you drop a like and drop a sub so you can get tuned in for the action next week and you can stay up to date on all my latest and greatest Pokemon and gaming content. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later.